Just three ordinary people from the hills of eastern Kentucky. We don't have all the answers, but we do have all the questions. This is the Just Add Bourbon podcast with Jimmy Don, JD, and Don. Welcome, everybody, to the Just Add Bourbon podcast. I'm Jimmy Don Kerr.
I'm Dawn Giesica.
And I'm JD Denver. What's going on?
And it is another beautiful Sunday evening here in the hills of eastern Kentucky. And that's a complete lie because it is raining like cats and dogs outside.
I was about to call you out, bro. You out.
But any day in the hills of eastern Kentucky is a beautiful day. How are my good friends doing this weekend?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Oh,
JD.
just about listen to me. I'm just about recovered from Friday.
This has become a recurring theme on this show, JD. I think we might need to have an intervention, Don. We'll just sit down and talk to JD about these.
I think we're ready. Are we ready for Dr. Phil? Maybe we should go on Dr. Phil's show. All three of us.
Listen, I started going back out last night. I was like, you know what? I just can't. I gotta go home. I'm going to bed. I did go to the ball game, but after that, I was done.
Where did you go on Friday?
Yes.
I didn't know if there was like a really cool new opening bar or something like that had a new opening or something.
No, there's not a cool bar with it.
That's me and my West Knoxville talk, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, are there any? I mean, like in my day, bar wise, like the only place that we really went to, like when I was over 21 or I guess older, out of school, come back from college, Holiday Inn, Landmark, and then
Landmark,
and during college years and like even high school for that matter, we went to Robbie's is what it was called, I think.
Yeah, Huntington.
In Huntington, I remember that.
Ended up, by the time Don and I come through, we ended up being the Wild Dog. Right.
Wild Dog.
Yeah, and then so Borderline was the big deal when
Borderline,
yeah. So
Borderline rumors, its name changes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Johnny May,
Johnny May, that was John May's home.
Yeah. That's right.
For a while.
That's a fact.
The Blue Oyster Bar, JD.
That's where I talked. I talked. Don't even worry about Chris K. Don't even put his comment.
We love Chris. Hey Amanda. Hi babe. Hey Eric.
Yeah. I'm about to recover. I'm be ready to go tomorrow morning, full swing, baby. Let's get to work.
Well, I saw JD last night, Don, and we were at the ball game, and we were talking on the way back, and apparently he was the good influence of the pair that he was with, and I was like, dude, y'all are in bad shape.
Yeah, good. I'm proud of you.
No, we had let's start there. So our boys and girls team played in the regional tournament this week. Both ended up winning their first round games, but went down in the second round to Pikeville. The Panthers, the Pikeville Panthers girls team actually won the regional tournament or headed on to the state, and the boys were beaten by Pikeville. Great season, guys, for our Cardinals. I hated to see it end. It always sucks when it ends, but I think this team came a long way this year. Really proud of both squads.
For sure, yeah. To make it as far as they did, that's a huge deal. Competing out of all those teams and that entire region's competitive. So congratulations to Martin County. Lady Cards and Cards. We're very proud of you guys.
Yeah, the ball game last night, I thought, man, we had a good ball team, but I just be honest with you, we got some – and people was crying about the referees and all that, but I'm just going to be honest, better team won that game, period.
Pikeville was better.
Yeah, you got outplayed, and that's it.
And,
the only thing that aggravated me, JD, is I thought that they set the tone early, and really at the half there were the same amount of fouls called on both teams. Right. But our star player, up for Mr. Basketball, the whole thing.
That charging call hurt.
Killed us because we were down by 3, and when that happened, it was boom. I mean,
we was down by 1. We was down by 1.
Oh yeah, that's right. We were down by 1.
And then Brady's going to the hole and gets a hit with the charging call and gives his 4th foul. It's like,
and then they went on.
It was tough, but I feel like Pike was just a better team, man. At the end of the day,
they were.
I still love our guys, man. I love the Cards. JJ did an awesome job this year, but hey, I'll go back and root for the Cards tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and
it's
Daniel
great. I enjoyed watching them too.
And Daniel's
Yeah,
right.
he is.
Martin County showed out
Hey,
in full
Daniel.
force, man. I mean, they were
Mhm.
the people of Martin County love a winner, man. I said they were heading out and watching. It was packed out last night in that place.
Yeah.
For our teams. Anybody know who won the second game? I know it was Betsy Lane.
Yeah, Pike Central.
Pike Central won.
Was it? Okay. I didn't watch. I get to watch online, and I will say that when Martin County is playing, the views online are double what they are when any other teams are playing.
Oh, yeah,
and that goes back to what Daniel is saying. I'm telling you, Martin County is supportive of their kids. They come out in full force. And honestly, guys, there's nothing else that you can want from a community.
No, but it was a good game, and I agree with JD. I mean, Pike was good. I mean, like really good.
Yeah.
And and we did well to be in the game, especially because, like I said, they were riding Brady. Like I didn't like the way that they were letting them ride Brady coming up the floor. Like they were just.
I agree.
But really, the foul calls were pretty even on both sides. There were some bad calls on both sides, and that fourth foul killed us. That charging call, because it just like all of a sudden it took the wind out of us, and Pike went on an insane run.
Right.
That's when the window.
Isn't Brady getting ready to go to Lexington for the awards or whatever, the Kentucky Awards Player of the Year or something like that?
Yeah,
he's up for Mr. Basketball.
Yeah, that's what they said on. Yeah, that's what they said on D&D Sports. So good luck to him. We're all rooting for you.
Absolutely, but proud of both teams. They represented themselves well in the tournament with class, and I thought the fans did great too, coming out being loud.
So with that being said, about how Martin County supports its youth, which I think is awesome, man. We need a good voter turnout in May to support the youth of this county, because this is a pivotal election.
Oh, absolutely.
For this county, we have set the date for our debates, right?
Yep.
We have
April 6th and 7th at the old courthouse. We're going to get it on. We're going to have these debates. We're going to see what these candidates are about. They'll put out their ideals and see what the future for Martin County looks like. And we need voters to show up and show out to these debates, and show up and show out to the polls, and
that's
get
right.
the right people in the right seats.
Yeah, could not agree more. Could not agree
absolutely.
more. You cannot complain if you don't participate, right?
No, that's right. Absolutely. And this is an important election for our county. I've said it on here before, based on my experiences the last 4 years and being downstate and what people think about our little home that we love so much. It's time. We've got to come out. We've got to turn out. And like JD said, get the right people in the right seats and help our little community grow and do it for our kids. It's why we do a lot of what we do is for our kids. That's what I tell people all the time about being on the water board. Like, why would you do that? I was like, because I'm stupid, apparently. But it was. But the truth is, and this is so corny, but I've said it many times, is that I was legit. I got asked to be on, and I said no. And they were like, "Don't say no right away. Just think about it." And I'm sitting there looking at the girls, and it was just like, I was like, I want my children to have an opportunity to live here.
That's right.
And if they want to live here, I want them to have that opportunity. And so I decided to take that on. It's been one of the most rewarding, hardest things I've ever done in my life. But JD's right. We've got to do something, get the right people in and support our kids in this community. 100%.
Yeah.
Well said, JD.
Yeah. That's admirable of you too, Jimmy Don, and you, JD. I know the water board and the water job is really, really hard, but you guys are doing that and you're fighting for your children. And not only are you fighting for your own children, you're fighting for the children of your neighbors and of the community. And so everybody get out, come support us, come support the candidates. We want you there. We want everybody there where it's wide open welcome to everybody. So make sure you come out April the 6th and 7th at the old courthouse, which is my fave. I love the old courthouse. Y'all know that. I'm totally into it.
No, absolutely. So
it's
a great venue. Very cool. Speaking of venues, JD, are you going to do another show anytime soon? Have you with the kids type show or anything there?
I've not got anything official yet for the courthouse or anything like that, but I still got comics messaging me, want to know what I'm going to do in those shows, this and that. It's just a matter of time, just me taking the time to put it together and do it. But yeah, we absolutely have plans going forward to do more shows. Just nothing on the books just yet. I did get scheduled for a new show June 7th. I'm going to do a benefit show in Huntington, West Virginia for some kids up there. So I had somebody reach out to me and ask me to do that. So I'm going to do that. So
I got to actually sit down and talk to you. So what about, aren't you doing something in Louisville too?
I don't know if I'm going to go or not. I'm supposed to go March 12th. They're supposed to have a comedy competition the next weekend. which I think I can win. But just a matter if I get up there or not. But March 12th this week. I guess it's this coming weekend. I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, cool, man. Good deal.
Guys, should we mention, I mean, I know we haven't mentioned, but we should probably mention we're in talks with Mr. Ro Khanna. I don't know if I'm saying his name correct or not, but he's a Democrat from California. He has a really good vision for Appalachia, and we're in talks with him to interview him next month. So or at the end of this month, actually. So you guys make sure you stay tuned. That's a really big interview. We're pretty proud of it. And we're just happy that people are noticing not only the podcast, but mainly our area and our home. And he's kind of a deal. So you can Google him. It's Ro, R-O, and then Khanna, Khanna. So keep up with him because he's going to be coming up, and then we can ask him questions. Tune in and fire off some questions at him.
Absolutely. So I'm pretty excited about that when I started looking into him when Don brought it up, and that could be a really, really interesting interview. And he has some opposing views, from myself but I think one of the things that we've learned doing this podcast is talking with people with opposing views is incredibly interesting, and you can learn something from it, and you can kind of understand where people are coming from. So I'm really I hope that works out and we end up with that guy. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. He's ready to book, and I'm with you 100%.
I'm looking for some support, so I'm glad to have him on.
JD's looking to have somebody else fight.
I'm like, guys, listen.
yeah, he does. He speaks well. I saw him on Bill Maher, and as soon as I was watching Bill Maher, and as soon as I saw his interview, I honestly just tuned kind of out and was reading a book, and then I heard this progressive from Silicon Valley in California start harping on how he could improve the Appalachian Mountains. So then that makes me, raise my head up, and I'm like tuned in. And then I went to Twitter and started tweeting with him. And then before you know it, we DM and then we email. And I think that, we definitely have him intrigued. He wants to be able to meet more and more people from Eastern Kentucky and Southwest Virginia and East Tennessee. So this is definitely our guy that we need to listen to. If you agree with his viewpoints, you need to talk to your representatives, even if they're Republican. I'm represented by all Republicans. I have already reached out to 2, Hal Rogers and to Tim Burchett, and said, I want you to listen to Ro Khanna, or I hope I'm saying his name right, Ro Khanna or Khanna. I want you to listen to him, and I want you to visit his ideas, because I want jobs back in the area. I want the Appalachian Mountains to be able to have employment so kids can stay home.
No, absolutely. So, I'm looking forward to that.
We need to let everybody know how this really went down. They wanted the hot guy to reach out to him, and I said, go ahead, Don, you do it.
Lies. Tell lies on you, Don.
You guys are so funny. Hey, Mom.
No,
that's definitely a lie. That's a lie.
Yeah. They're always asking for JD. Yes, they're always asking for JD and Jimmy Don, for sure. Right, boys? Yeah, you guys are so handsome and so smart, and I love you both so much. You guys are good boys.
Jason, actually, I talked to Richard Ojeda. I know Richard a little bit through a common friend of mine, and he's moved to North Carolina now, but he actually was going to do the show, but he does his podcast on the same day we do our podcast. And so it's kind of been a scheduling conflict with Richard. But I would love you, Richard, over here eventually. Yeah.
That dude would be fun to talk to.
Yeah. He gets fired up. I love his passion. If nothing else, that dude
I don't even know him, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'll check him out, though. Jason, I'll check him out. Hi, babe. I love when all my friends tune in. They're all so sweet. I'm so proud of all of them. Amanda and Daniel and Eric. Love them all. Chris.
That's
because she called me.
I don't have readers yet. I went to my eye doctor and I asked for readers, and he's like, "You're fine." But I'm telling y'all, I cannot see, which I've never been able to see. But he acts like I just can't see, and I don't need readers.
We were going to have Chris on the show. We can't get his head in the screen, so we can't put it.
Hey, mommy.
Look, there's
my little mom.
So
that means I can't cuss. JD, that means you can't cuss.
That's it. You cuss, Don. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
JD, no cussing.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into. We'll get into a couple of things, but Kentucky won their last game yesterday, beat Florida, finished up the regular season. SEC tournament starts this week. It's my favorite time of the year. I can't wait. I think we play on Friday for the first time. We ended up finishing tied for second, essentially. in the SEC for the regular season. Auburn wins, and it was us in Tennessee. And I absolutely love our side of the bracket because to get to the championship game, if we win, we're probably going to have to play Tennessee and beat the Dirty Vols one more time. We split home and home, blew each other out. Both, they got killed here. We got killed there. Now we get to, the rubber match in the SEC tournament. It's my favorite time. I cannot wait.
Right.
So I
Can't wait.
How good is the SEC at basketball, man? I did not expect that.
Oh, boy, we're good. Yeah, this is a conference to be in right here.
This Tennessee team's legit, guys. I'm going to tell you. They're good. That's good basketball.
Oh, Tennessee's good. I mean, I
hate them, but they're good. Yeah. They're good. They are.
All hate aside, they're legit good.
Yeah. They're good. Rick Barnes is good. They're led. Let me tell you, this program has tons of money. I'm sure they have more money than Kentucky, and that's saying something. They dump money into the Tennessee program. But let me tell you, we blew them out at Rupp. They did not blow us out at Thompson-Boling. There's a difference between being beat by 28 points in Rupp and being beat by 13 at Thompson-Boling. But I agree with you, Jimmy Don. We did split the season, and we're looking for some revenge come the SEC tourney. I do hope it's us. I will probably faint or maybe even die 2 or 3 times because, those are my 2 loves and hates when it comes to Tennessee a little bit. I'm trying to love them, but let me tell you, that's going to be a fight.
The only thing I'll say about they get blown out Thompson-Boling, they may beat us by 13, but the game wasn't that close.
No, it was not that close. They slaughtered us.
They beat us pretty bad.
It was embarrassing. It really
was.
Yeah.
And I hate it wasn't 28. Yeah. We'll give you that one.
I'm sorry. Numbers are numbers. If I need to choose, do I want to be beat by 13 or do I want to be beat by 28? I'm going to pick 13 all day long. That is not an ass spanking like what we did at Rupp. So I'll go to my grave.
I like it, Don. I'll support that 100%. Yeah.
I'm just telling you, it felt like worse like 13 than
it does to us because we are Kentucky, and Kentucky is Kentucky, and we
got to talk about the girls
win everywhere.
Oh, Our Kentucky girls basketball team won the SEC championship today. Yes. They are on fire right now. I mean,
they beat the number 1 team in the nation, bro.
Yes, beat the number 1 team in the country.
Yes. Shut up, Johnny. But yes, thank you, Jason, for bringing that up. We definitely want to give some love to the University of Kentucky girls, and they beat Tennessee to get there. And then who did they beat today?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. And there they are. I mean, this is a great team. We've got really good athletics in this SEC conference. We should all be proud. We own football, and now we own basketball. And people used to make fun of the South, and look at us now. We own everything.
And one other thing, JD. As being a Kentucky fan and teams we love to hate like Tennessee, what could be more perfect for a Kentucky fan than Coach K in his last home game getting spanked by North Carolina?
I ain't mad about
it. I ain't mad either.
Yeah. It doesn't bother me at all.
The only thing would be better if it'd be Kentucky beating them.
Yeah, right.
And we may get that opportunity. So, we may get that opportunity in the NCAA tournament.
Let me ask you boys something, though. Let me ask you two something, though, and I want to ask honestly, because for me, it's going to feel different. Coach K's been coaching my entire life. I don't know Duke without Coach K. It felt different when we lost Roy Williams when he went and retired, and now we don't have Coach K. Like, either we're getting old, which I'm going to decline, that's not happening, or it's just going to feel really different going into next season without these Hall of Famer coaches. I mean, we all know that Cal's not going to coach forever. It's just this whole new era is being ushered in. What do you all feel about that? Because to me, as much as I hate Duke, this is going to feel different without Coach K.
Yeah, it's going to be weird to look on the sideline and see somebody beside Mike Krzyzewski over there on, strolling the Duke sideline. But
right.
Screw Duke, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be really good here.
No.
See, I hate to see him go. See, Duke doesn't scare me that bad. So honestly, I hate to see Coach K go, but I hope he enjoys his retirement. I hope that Duke even continues to be a good program because I enjoy the competition. I want blue bloods to be blue bloods. I like those 4 blue blood teams. I hope we can keep that on.
Sure. So one of my first introductions to Kentucky basketball involves Duke, though. Like when we moved over, that's when the big, the game happened. That's when Laker hit the shot. So that was kind of my first experience with the NCAA tournament in West Virginia. For us, we come from a football family, so like it was March Madness, like wasn't even a thing for us. It wasn't even on our radar.
Right.
So we come over here and everybody's a UK fan, and this big game's going on between Kentucky and Duke, and then. That shot was in here. I was all into it, finally for the first time. And then my heart's just shattered by Laettner. Screw you, Christian Laettner.
I still dislike him. Yeah.
So having Coach K, like you said, he's always been there. He's always been there since we've been around. So to see the ending of that era is, it's just weird.
No, it is for sure. And I remember where I was at when Laettner hit that shot. Like I remember where I was at, where I was sitting. It still hurts right now. And in this March Madness, they're going to play that shot over and over and over again. Yeah. And we're going to have to relive it. I hate it. I hate Duke. I still hate Laettner.
I know.
And
I
only hate Tennessee worse. Sorry, ball fans. I hate you worse. And that gaudy orange.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I tell Reagan, I'm like, Reagan, I know you're a model and you get paid big money to wear things, but orange still isn't pretty. So we can even put orange on her and it's still not pretty. And I don't totally hate Tennessee, but I'm telling you, orange is a tough color no matter how you cut it. And Chris, you're a UK fan now, whether you like it or not. You're in the Hillbilly fam. You're in the Hillbilly fam, so you have to root for them.
Welcome to the Big Blue Nation.
That's right.
This is my favorite time of the year. Like legit, I love the SEC tournament. I love March Madness. Like that first Friday, Saturday, really the first weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the tournament. I absolutely love. Betty Jo, orange is pretty.
Look at
on
Mom.
Reagan. Yeah.
On Reagan, bless. She always
but not Tennessee
Reagan.
Orange. Tennessee orange is puke orange.
Right. And, Reagan signed up to go to UT, and then when everything went online, I'm like, I'm not paying that tuition to send you there. So we switched really quick. Trump was kind of.
It didn't look good on him either.
Yeah, it didn't
look good on him either. Yeah, I hate
so
to tell
funny.
you. Oh, good times. All right, so let's talk about really the highlight of the week, or newsworthy thing of the week was the State of the Union address. Biden came out, did his hour-long talk. Talked the State of the Union. I thought the speech overall wasn't bad. I thought he hit a lot of high points as far as things that people like to hear. But I still thought a lot. It was a speech. It was a lot of talk. So I thought we would kind of work through some of the points. And JD, we'll start with you. Since that's more your political leaning, kind of give us just a quick rundown of what you thought of the debate and how Biden did.
The speech. Yeah, I thought that was a good job. I thought he did a good job. I was very pleased with him. I'm pleased with the job he's done so far. So I'm a little bit biased. I'll admit that. But I thought, this idea that he's senile or that is mentally deteriorated to the point where he can't function. I mean, I feel like it's time to put that argument to bed. If you give a speech for an hour or 2 minutes, you're not crazy. You're not going senile. You're not mentally decapacitated. So I hope those things go away, but I'm sure that facts ain't going to matter to a lot of people. I thought he hit a lot of good highlights. He talked about a lot of unity things, a lot of things we could work together on, both parties, which we thought was good. Even especially at the beginning of the speech, he was talking about Ukraine and Russia. But even in the middle of the speech, he talked about, funding the police and stuff like that. Things, reaching that olive branch across the aisle, I thought was really good for him. And I thought the speech went well. To me, I was listening to it, was like, man, it's hard to really disagree with anything that's being said here to me. But, again, I'm biased. I'll admit it.
Don, what about you?
The speech was okay. Honestly, I've heard it before. In 2018, Trump hit most of those key facts. The American-made stuff was all Trump's thing. He always said that we should build and buy American. That was his thing. The funding for police, that was Trump's thing. Defunding the police has always been the Democrat thing. I thought it was a complete 180 from what the Democrats have been doing and saying for 2 years. But overall, am I going to sit here and I'm going to root against President Biden? No, he's my president. I want him to do well. But the facts are the facts. We are not better off. Everybody's paying more for everything. We have increasing division. His polls did jump after the State of the Union. Every president's does, but they're still very low. He still has a big hill that he has to climb. But I think, honestly, we all just kind of need to root for him and hope that he does well, because we have big problems with Ukraine and Russia. We have big problems with inflation and gas and things of those nature. So I want to root for him, but no. Do I think he's done a good job, like JD says? No. not even close.
So I thought that was one of the strongest things about his speech, is that he recognized, that, hey, inflation is a problem. But I appreciate it about him. Instead of somebody's going to get up there and talk about everything being roses and sunshine, and admit that, hey, there's things we need to work on. So I appreciated that part of the speech, and that he recognizes that everyday Americans are struggling. So yeah, that's just a different perspective, I think.
Yeah,
Sure.
and I thought overall the speech was pretty good. I agree with Don. I think, and that's something I want to talk a little bit about, is like they have done a complete 180 on the defund the police thing. Maybe not so much Biden, Biden himself, but the Democratic Party in general and what they've supported. And hang on before you comment, JD, because I want to discuss it. So you look like you were ready to say something. So, but no, that. I just thought it was a lot of lip service. It's your garden variety State of the Union address. And like JD said, he had a lot of good points, a lot of things that, I think the American people want to hear. I think he didn't address the economy a whole lot because the economy is not great. As far as the everyday Americans and everyday Americans working and prices and things like that. And a lot of these inflationary issues were caused, in my opinion, by some Democratic policies. And, but I thought overall, just as far as the speech is concerned, I thought he did a good job. And I thought he hit some really good points. But JD, let's kind of talk about this a little bit as far as, the Democrat, and I don't think that JD ever believed this, that defunding the police was the right thing. And I'm not sure that you believe, JD, that what they were saying was really defund the police. It was a poor choice of words. As far as what they were trying to say.
Right.
Now, my contention would be that there are people on the left that 100% think they should defund the police and take some money away. But that's your far, far left. But it does seem that the Democratic Party has switched gears on this defund the police thing, so to speak. And my personal thought is that it's, election time. That is not popular among most Americans. And I was just wanting to know, JD, kind of what your thought was on that particular issue, because I know you don't agree with that. What, defund the police.
So here's one of the things I guess I'll disagree, but I'm agreeing with you too. They have changed their mind a lot, it looks like. But I don't think a lot of it has to do with who's the head of the party right now. Instead of moving Joe Biden to the left, Joe Biden is moving them back to the center. And I think that's an important difference that needs to be made. It's important who you elect as your candidate. It's important who you elect as your president. And so when Joe Biden becomes the presidential candidate, he set the policies for the Democratic Party. And I think he's done a good job not being pulled to the left. That's I'm sure as much contention as he had to come to the left, but he's done a good job of staying center and staying with his core beliefs. And I'm glad he seems to be able to get other people on board, which is why it's important to have good leadership. And I think he showed that by in a State of the Union address saying that, and people applauding it, people his party applauding it. But to me, that speaks volumes of his leadership.
But I guess, and Don, my thing is probably before Biden came in, though, like when Trump was still president and all this stuff was going on, that those people would have clapped if they said defund the police. They would have clapped as well.
They would have, yeah.
So what do you think about that particular issue and why the Democrats seem to be changing their mind?
They're changing their mind point blank because of elections. They're changing their mind point blank because of polls. That's not a Republican or a Democrat issue. That's numbers, and the numbers are not in their favor. They have picked the issues that they know are hurting them, and they have to do 180s from them. Remember, Joe Biden is ultimately a moderate. He has been for 45 years, but for some reason, he has not been able to be a presidential moderate. He's been pulled to the left, and that has plummeted him. I don't know if they've actually listened to him at this point or what, but his State of the Union address did not offend me. I do think it was more moderate leaning. However, it was not moderate leaning enough because they being the Democrats, allowed 2 quote unquote rebuttals within their own party. They had the Progressive Party, which is called now, I guess, the Working Families Party or something like that. Is that correct, JD? I might have gotten
I think that was what it was. Yeah.
I think it's Working Families Party. They got to rebut. And then they also had just a moderate Democrat come on and rebut him. And that is a problem within that Democrat Party. They need to let Joe Biden lead it. They need to let him kind of retain his moderate vision. If they would do that, then Joe Biden wouldn't be in trouble for his re-election. But because they will not allow that of President Biden, then that's why he'll always have polling problems, because those progressive ideas are not floating.
So the only kickback I got on that is to see what Senator Tlaib did as a rebuttal is a far cry from what I heard her say. All I heard her do is sing Biden's praises for 15 minutes. So I don't know why the hell that's a rebuttal. But
yeah, exactly. So if you're going to go on,
that he's with, but to say that he's with far left with his as a progressive and his candidacy, I just don't see any of those.
No, she went on to make sure the progressives knew that they were still going to work toward eliminating all student loans. They were still going to work toward, like, all the socialist agenda, the Green New Deal, living wages, all those things. She's going to work. Those are far left because, again, we talked about the climate change things and where it put us into. Just because we believe in climate change doesn't mean that Russia does, doesn't mean that Iran does. Right. It puts us in a weak position. So I did not like that the party went against President Biden. So I can swing either way. Ultimately, I'm a Republican. But when it comes to President Biden, for 40 plus years, he's been in politics. He has not been egregious to me. And like we said last Sunday, he didn't scare me when he decided he was going to run for president. But all of a sudden, he has these divisions within his own party. And I don't like that. I don't think that's respectful of him or respectful to him. I think they need to back off. And Republicans, back off on how he talks. I agree with JD on that. I don't think he's 70. How old is he, guys? 75?
79, I think.
Yeah, he's an older gentleman.
79.
79. Even if he was 59, could you imagine the nerves that you have to kind of get in check to speak to millions of people? And he's got big fish to fry. It's not just the State of the Union. He's literally trying to negotiate, peace over in Europe. So what? He fumbles.
Yeah. And so the only thing I'm going to say that on is I like it, though. I like the division within the party. And not that I want people to be fighting inside the party. I think it's good that we bring, as much as I love you all, I love that we're debating ideals. As long as we're doing it at ideals, not attacking the way he speaks, or he's making fun of the speech impediment, or saying he's senile, which is ridiculous. But I like the ideal that they're debating parties within the party. I think it makes the Democratic the stronger party instead of the Republican Party, who just wants to get lock and step with everything. I don't like that. I'd rather let's have the debate, even within the party.
I like it too, because it literally puts you in a beatable position. I love that division. So bring it on. I want the progressives to have the biggest microphone. I want them to get on TV. I want them to get all the airwaves. I want them to go on there, and I want them to talk about banning assault weapons. Yeah, I want the Democrats to talk about banning assault weapons. I want them to talk about shutting down fossil fuels. I want them to talk about climate change to the nth degree. I want them to talk about eliminating student loans, but not eliminating other loans. Please bring it on. Trust me, if I was sitting in just a Republican seat, please keep talking that. But as an American who is the mother of 4 children, I've got 2 stepsons and I've got 2 daughters. I really don't want that type of division, because we need both sides. And I need that Democrat Party to be unified, and I need them to be able to balance my crazy right side. Does that make sense? So I don't
I get what you're saying, but I think the party is stronger, even the party itself stronger, when there is some new ideas being thrown out there. So everybody just get behind lock and step. I don't like that.
Well, it's interesting though. Like, I think that's one of those things that is interesting, because I think you're both right. Like, I'm like you, JD. I prefer when every board that I've served on, the best boards I've served on, had dissenting opinions.
Yeah.
And you would debate them out. You would find a consensus, and you would end up with a really good idea.
But did you publicize it? Did you publicize it?
No, and that's what I'm saying. No, that's where I think you're both right, is because what JD's saying, I actually agree with that. Like, I like the division and the debate, right? You're trying to, people think different things, and there's different people all over this country that have different ideas about things. And to be able to talk about those and debate them and maybe try to come to something that's better over time, I think is good. But then what Don says is also right, because it is publicized. I think it turns a lot of people off like they're a mess. And I don't think they are. Is the thing is, I don't think they're a mess. I think that they are I think it's healthy what's happening within the party. Like I like Joe Manchin, for example. I'm probably a Joe Manchin Democrat, right? And a lot of people in the Democratic Party don't like Joe Manchin because he doesn't go far enough left. He's more moderate, like Biden has been Biden's entire life. Manchin's more like that. And I like the fact that Manchin has that differing opinion in the Democratic Party because it does, like Don said, it keeps some things in check, from the crazy liberal side. So that's how I kind of see it. But I think it's interesting because I agree 100% with JD, but I also agree 100% with Don. And that's the interesting part of it.
Honestly, I think we're all in agreement, including JD, because when we look at it, when Jimmy Don put it in that big, wide lens, we all agree that dissenting opinions and that, different ways of thinking are the best way. You need to hear that. Like I said, half of my friend bases are liberal, half of them are Republican. I even hang out with different religions. I want to hear everything. But we all grew up Baptist. We all grew up in Eastern Kentucky. And you know how you have to kind of keep your quarrels under the same roof? That's how they should do it. So if you're going to fight amongst each other and don't let me know about it. Because all I see is the president of the United States, and I see him as the leader of the Democrat Party. And then I see these two different divisions that are attacking my president. I mean, I didn't vote for him, but he's still my president.
Yeah, I didn't see I listened to those speeches. And I didn't see them attacking at all to me, but
they are. That's low key. And you should see Twitter. The progressives were like, we voted him in and he's turned against us because they got so irritated over the defund the police because BLM, that was their big thing, was defund the police. That was what they ran with. And they did a 180 on them. So they got irritated. So he has to have those progressives speak in order to keep that progressive vote in. So I think that's why they did it. But I wish they would all just kind of unite. I don't know.
So here's what the Democrats don't have that they did that last time. As of right now, they don't have. Is last time they had somebody like Trump who was unpopular among anybody else except his hardcore believers.
They
don't have that. They don't have this luxury this time. And so they're going to have to come up. I'll agree with that. They're going to have some ideals of their own. It's much different to criticize the man and being the man, right? It's way two different things. And so it's different to criticize a guy that has bad ideals and being the guy with the ideals. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so that's what Democrats, that's the problem they have at this point, in my opinion.
No, I think that's 100% fair too. Yep. I really do. And it's just like, we and JD, like the whole COVID thing, Trump was the man when all that went down. So he had to bear the burden of that and what's happening right now. And there's a lot of market factors that cause inflation. And some of those are policy decisions. Some are outside factors. But Biden is the man right now, and he has to bear that burden. And so,
I think that's the great thing that he did in a speech was step up and say, "Hey, we got to fix this. We got to figure it out." And
well, like I said, and here's the thing I think is
everything that Biden said at the State of the Union address about COVID was lockstep and key with the Republican Party. That cannot be stolen by the Democrats. Every single word he said was what the Republicans have fought for 2 years.
He's saying it now, not 2 years ago, because now we're in a way different spot than we were 2 years ago.
That's not the point. The point is the Republicans.
Because this time now, that's right. At that point, it wasn't.
The Republicans were right 2 years ago. We should have never enlisted mandates. We should have never shut things down. We should have never went with this big government overreach. We should have hit a moderate thing. They did. Now
Biden said that. Biden said there should never been lockdown.
Biden's now saying, take the mask off. We've got to learn to
because
live
we're 2 years later, Don. It's a way different time.
DeSantis has said that 2 years ago.
But 2 years ago, we shouldn't have took the mask off. 2
years.
2 years ago, we shouldn't have.
Don,
you can say as loud as you want to, honey. It don't matter. 2 years ago,
I don't mean to be loud, but I'm telling you, they did fine. My point is they did a 180, JD.
No, Don,
how can you defend that?
At some point, you do take the mask off. At some point, you do go out and enjoy life, and life goes on.
Remember that in March,
but 2 years ago, there wasn't that spot.
2020.
This is a way different. It's a way different place, Don. So since a 180 is ridiculous.
Okay, so in March 2020, Dr. Fauci, who was leading the charge, said there is absolutely no reason why we should have masks on, and then he completely did a 180 and then said mask up. He knew right in March 2020 that we should be in masks in indoor places when it comes to a respiratory airborne virus. They knew it was airborne. DeSantis argued that the whole time. He said, look, it's airborne. There's nothing we can do. We can mask. We cannot mask. But you probably need to mask when you go into the hospitals. He also offered treatments. He also offered testing. We cut those things off.
But you're going to get to the speech in a minute. Go ahead.
And let me remove DeSantis' name from it, because I don't want you to think like I'm doing a pro-DeSantis speech, which I am pro-DeSantis. I hope that he runs instead of Trump.
Oh, I do
but
too.
when it comes to the tactic, when it comes to the technique of fighting COVID, we can sit here and we can argue, or we can look back and we can go, ultimately, who did it right? Would you rather go through a pandemic with the Democrats when they shut the economy completely down? They say that they will not take the vaccine because Trump made it. They say to not wear a mask. And they tell you your kids need to be vaccinated before they even have stats. They said all of these things. These are all facts. I don't just regurgitate lies. They said all of these things.
Who said that then?
And then when it comes election time, remember just last week or 2 weeks ago, COVID was a real thing. But now that midterms are creeping up and we're just about 8 months away or so, all of a sudden COVID has abruptly ended. No mask. We don't worry about vaccine mandates. We're seeing those lifted. All of these things are being lifted. The Republicans handled it. Don't get me wrong. I will say this, JD. I'm a public health advocate. And for everybody watching, Democrats and Republicans both failed miserably during this pandemic. You should never politicize a virus. We should have been more caring about our neighbors. We should have been more caring about each other and about immunocompromised. I still mask if I'm indoors.
Why?
I think it's not a thing. Because I'm a public health advocate. I just said that if you'd pay attention.
Okay. I thought you said it was nonsense a minute ago.
We should have hit a moderate tune the entire time. Instead, we had these two parties going two extreme ways. So if I have to pick an extreme way, I'm going to pick the Republican way, because they did not shut everything down. You have to remember, I sat in here for 2.5 weeks with no employment because all surgeries were completely kaput. Now, at that time, we did not know. So I'm going to give some grace. You can jump in, JD. I don't tell you not to.
Go ahead.
Because you have to give people grace when you're dealing with a novel virus, okay? But a year later, we still had these problems. Why did we still have these problems? And now, honestly, a month ago, we still had these problems. We still had hospitals getting completely
I'm so tired
pounded.
of COVID. But go ahead.
But Biden didn't care a month ago. But now Biden's like, we have to live with it. Republicans have said that since at least 6 months into into 2020. But now Biden's all of a sudden, we have to live with it. We all know that it's changed because midterms is going to be a bloodbath for Democrats.
JD, go ahead and respond to that.
Okay. So the midterms are probably going to be a bloodbath for Democrats, like it is for every for every party that gets voted into every time a party takes over a House and Senate and the White House, they always get bloodbath in midterms. That's historically always the way it happens, period. This way it is. That's the way it happened for George W. Bush. That's the way it happened under Obama. It's the way it's going to happen this time, probably. It's just, so what? Who cares? To say we made a 180 on it, to me, is ludicrous because we're just in a different spot now than we were 2 years ago. To say we're going to live with this, that we're going to live with it now, with the strain of the virus that's out there compared to what it was 2 years ago, is completely not even the same. You can't even compare them. It's not even comparable. We know so much more about it. We have treatments to fight it. We have vaccines to fight it. And so to say that it's just a 180 to me is just
right. Are you talking about the treatments that we cut off in September?
I'm talking about the treatments that are out everywhere that we all got.
the Pfizer treatment that's coming out. The infusions were cut off in September. We don't have enough infusions. We didn't have enough testing. We didn't have enough masks.
Was the virus as strong now as it was 2 years ago?
Biden.
Is many people dying now, or is the same amount of people dying?
The virus was stronger because we didn't have the vaccines. And remember, when the vaccines came out, your Democratic leaders said, I wouldn't trust a vaccine from Trump. These are all facts. We can get upset about them, but these are what people said. Okay.
Sure.
And in that cause, as somebody who's made a living in healthcare, I'm going to What? But
Are more people dying from COVID?
We have had more cases.
There's more people dying.
We've had more hospital. I'm answering. You got to listen.
Okay.
We've had more cases. Google this, everyone. Cases, hospitalizations, and deaths.
We have.
You want to know why? Omicron. Google it. Omicron has blown through the vaccines. Well, and you have to also remember this. Okay. You have to also remember this. We're wide open, JD. Right. So I'm going to try to throw you a bone. Okay. The reason why we didn't have as many deaths under Alpha and Gamma was because we were literally at home. That was a deadly variant. Okay.
So it was way different then.
If you caught it, it was way different. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Now we have the vaccines. Hopefully everyone has at least vaccinated or mitigated at some point. It is still a deadly virus. The Republicans and the Democrats both have made this a complete hogwash situation. But if I had to cherry pick who am I going to go through another pandemic with, I'm going to side with the Republicans because my kids need to go to school. Remember, kids were never a threat. They were never threatened by this virus. Sure. Are we agreeing with that at the first part anyway? And they're still not.
Absolutely.
They have better chances of getting killed in car accidents or going to Walmart or so forth and so on, right? Yeah. We cannot, and we don't need to mandate. Biden's a moderate. If they would leave Biden alone and just let President Biden be President Joe Biden, somebody who we have seen as a senator, someone who we have had as a vice president, and someone now who we have as a president, if they would let him just be him, I think he could have persuaded people a lot better than what he did by listening to the progressive arm that said we need to mandate people. You cannot mandate a vaccine that literally gets blown through.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I think as far as the COVID stuff goes, I guess I just want to throw my 2 cents in. The thing, like, I partially agree with Don in that, like, we were seeing these other places that were ahead of us, right? And we could have tracked what was going on with Israel and some of these other countries looking at their studies, and we could have got here a lot faster. I don't know why we didn't, but we didn't. But I want to talk about one other thing. With the State of the Union address, and that has to, and I guess it's the other big news, and that's Russia and Ukraine, and and Biden standing up there saying we support the people of Ukraine as they're getting the daylights bombed out of them. Now, in one sense, I support the people of Ukraine. I think it's amazing what those people are doing, trying to defend their country and their homes. In another, I've said on here many times, we don't need to be involved in every war that's going on around the world. So, I criticize Biden, like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I criticize Biden in one sense for saying that, but at the same time, I don't necessarily believe that we should be involved in every war. Now, one thing I will say, JD, and I did not, we argued about this last week or the week before, I can't remember, but the economic sanctions that they put on Russia really hurt them for a couple of days. Like, I mean, punished them. And I was shocked how effective that really was. And so I got to give props to the Biden administration on that particular issue, because it did way more than I expected. But I wanted to know, Don, let's start with you as far as like kind of what you thought, how Biden, reflected on Ukraine. And yet, they're still just getting pummeled over there. They've had to stop, evacuating people because of the missiles that they're just dropping on that country right now, trying to take it over. So kind of what was your thought on the speech, but, specifically with Ukraine?
Ultimately, with the speech, I like I told you guys, I give him good marks, but I like to respect the office of the president. When it goes to Ukraine and Russia, we would never be in this position if we had a Republican president. 62% of the population agree with me. It's getting into the 75 range now if we're listening to polls. However, that's neither here nor there. I agree with the sanctions. I think that sanctions are definitely a kind of they are an act of war. They're a way that we can kind of fight back without actually putting boots on the ground and things of that nature. It's a political science thing. That's what we do. I do think that he could put stronger and much more rigorous sanctions into place, and I think that he is contemplating that. Ultimately, when it comes to Putin, he's a madman. I support Ukraine. And I support if Biden wants to do whatever Biden feels is necessary to stop it. I think it's unfortunate that we have a president that goes on TV and says and declares that we will not put boots in the ground and that on the ground and that we will not put airplanes in the sky. I don't think you should tell Putin that. That lets him know that we're not going to engage him in any way other than with sanctions. President Putin has let everyone know that the sanctions are being considered an act of war and that he's going to escalate. When Putin escalates, I think that Americans need to decide what you're comfortable with. Personally, I'm comfortable with whatever President Biden wants to use, even if it includes war. And I'll tell you why. Everybody's argument for not going into war with Putin is because he has nuclear bombs. Is he going to suddenly get rid of the nuclear bombs this year or next year, and he's not going to have them 5 or 10 years from now? When he invades Sweden or Finland or Poland and he still has nuclear bombs, are we going to say we can't fight him because he has nuclear weapons? At some point, you have to meet a madman, and at some point you've got to fight crazy with crazy. Whatever President Biden wants to do with Russia, I think we all should get back behind.
JD, what did you think about that?
I think that we're in a tough situation, and we are dealing with the nuclear power. And I think it does have to be taken into consideration. But so far, I think Biden has done an A+ job. We're working with the allies, and in these sanctions, they're destroying these oligarchs in Russia. They're hurting the economy. Unfortunately, the common people are being affected by it as well, because that's how it works, right? I've been impressed with the way he's handled the whole situation. They ask for us to enforce a no-fly zone. We can't do that because that's direct engagement. So if you're direct engagement, either you fight the war all the way or you don't fight it at all. That's the way I feel about it. So either we're in it or we're out. So right now we're out.
We're already in it, boys.
So we're out right now. So we're going to be support. We're going to work around, if we can. But we're not going to directly engage it. And I think that's the right call. If Ukraine was a part of NATO, it'd be way different. We'd all be all in. We'd be all in. But to say that, if we had a Republican president, I don't care what the poll says, 62%. If the poll said a Republican president would have made a bit of difference as far as what Putin had on his mind, he was going into Ukraine. The only thing Putin was waiting for is hopefully that the NATO wasn't going to be working together as strongly as they are, but they have been. And I think that's a compliment to Biden's leadership.
I did see where MasterCard and Visa said they're no longer going to deal in Russia right now.
A lot of big things like that are happening. There's a Visa, these big oligarchs, man. If you like what they do, man, is load these cards up in Russia. They try to spend it outside of Russia. They're not going to honor them. If they load them up outside of Russia, they're not going to let them use them in Russia. So
let me ask this question: like Putin's essentially put himself on an island. You know what I'm saying? Like he is really
He
put himself on an island, but yet he's still going. And my question is why? Like, what does he know that we don't know that he's still going this hard? Yeah, because JD, I mean, and I'll say it because I was wrong. And like, that was one of those instances where I didn't know that the economic sanctions were really the right thing to do. I didn't know what the right thing to do is. There's a lot.
It's a tough spot.
But it worked. Sure. And I was really impressed with how it worked because I understand the financial markets and what
how did it work? He's still attacking Ukraine.
No, I'm saying as far as putting the hurt on Russia, that's the question, Don, is how, we all know it worked. And, it shut their stock market down. It devalued their currency so much that they had to shut the stock market down because
they wouldn't even open it up one day.
Yeah, it was in free fall.
It was going to drop.
But it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt Putin. We have to correct that. It didn't hurt Putin. It hurt It hurt my Russian friends who are over there who I can't contact now. It hurt the Russian civilians and citizens who have no part in this. That's who the sanctions hurt. But those are not that. That doesn't mean I don't support them. Our sanctions. We have to do it. It's just at some point you all have to realize that we are already in a world war with Putin. He is being completely supported by China, Iran, Saudi Arabia, all these crazy terrorist states. You might as well say China's a terrorist state. They're not our friend.
So that's why he keeps going.
That's why he keeps going. Yeah, he's not scared of us.
Well, that's why I think what we're doing with Poland is going to be a very smart move for Ukraine and us. I think it's going to work out great.
Yeah, I'm going to say this a million times over because facts are facts. We cannot change them. Every single time we have a Democrat president, Russia gains territory. every time. Google. It's a friend.
He also gained land when 2008 when George. He also gained territory with the Republican president in 2008. Just for Google that too.
Well, we'll throw him out there, but ultimately, it's because Bush is basically a rhino. But here it is.
Well, we've only had one Republican.
We are going to have to engage Putin at some point. We're going to have to handle China at some point. All of those things are going to happen at some point. It's either going to be now or it's going to be when your grandkids are 15 or 18 or 25. At some point, you have to deal with a madman. Putin has went completely crazy. He's showing his lunacy. I think Biden is doing the right thing by being as diplomatic as he can since we're already in this. But ultimately, we need to cut off more. We need to stranglehold them. We don't need to be taking any oil from them. It's going to drive our gas prices even higher. But it is what it is when it comes to that. When you voted for Biden, you voted for this. Enjoy.
I don't know what that even means or how you can get to that, but I know that I agree with you that we ought to cut off more and more, that we ought to eventually, but I think that's the smart thing about the diplomatic process that they've done, that instead of just throwing everything at them, they're able to continue to diplomatically escalate the sanctions, which I think is a good thing. Instead of just having all of them once. Now, okay, we're going to do this. Well, not working. Now we're going to do this. And you continue to escalate, and I think it's a great strategy.
No, it's interesting, and like we've said it every week, I'd hate to be the president trying to make those decisions because who knows what the right thing to do is.
Tough,
and because you feel bad for those people, and Don's right. I mean, who those sanctions, but it did hurt the oligarchs.
It is hurting the oligarchs, absolutely.
The rich people there, it definitely hurt the everyday citizens of Russia, but it definitely hurt the oligarchs too.
The people who are around
at some point is going to hurt Putin directly because they're tied to Putin directly.
We haven't hurt them enough though, Jimmy Don. They still have their apartments in New York City. They still have their apartments in Los Angeles. They still have their apartments in Paris.
We're less than 2 weeks
still have their assets. They're still in SWIFT. Russia's still in SWIFT. We have not cut enough. Hopefully we'll get there. Hopefully we will get there. I think that we are doing a slow escalation because we know that we are dealing with a lunatic. I am just not used to a slow escalation. I'm a feisty girl. I would rather go in and eliminate the fire immediately before it becomes a bonfire and all my friends are roasting marshmallows in it. That's just how my tactic is. But Biden's is let's fight it slower. But at some point, we're going to have to engage Putin. How's this?
I think we ought to listen to the military and political experts. That's what I think. I think that's what he's doing.
And that's fair. I mean, like I said, that's fair. So we're almost to an hour. So I want to jump into our last segment of the show. And that is the post that JD and Don put out on Facebook and Instagram each week. The most commented on, we want to discuss that particular topic. So there was one that JD posted that I thought was brilliant. And it says, if we keep messing with Russia here, we're going to fool around and get another, was it Toby Keith song or was it?
That was hilarious. Before we have another Toby Keith song.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, that was really good.
I was like, I've got to put that on the.
That was good. But the other one, Don, was about the pumps, right? The gas prices at the pumps, right?
Yes. So they're predicting that gas prices will get to $5 within the next 2 weeks. And that was our second most engaged post behind the funny one that JD posted. But yeah, that one generated some comments and some concern about the gas prices. Mm-hmm.
So JD, you kind of start off on that. I mean, I told you before we started, I went and got gas, this week. And I've been noticing it, but like I really noticed it. For whatever reason.
They're only going to go up, especially these new sanctions that are. There's going to be a new round of sanctions coming on Russia probably tomorrow, and then eventually they're going to cut off their energy supply. They're not going to buy energy from them anymore. No more oil is going to come from Russia. Probably going to have to up the production in the U.S., which is fine. Whatever. Getting through reserves and trying to control this, but the prices are going to go up. Don't expect it to be relieved anytime soon. And what can you do, man? What can you do? Can you take a private business and tell them not to make no more? It's all the money you can make this year. What can you do?
Well, and the problem is, JD, is most of these gas stations don't really make that much money on gas.
No, I'm not talking about the gas station. I'm talking about the big dogs at the top.
Oh, the big dogs, yeah.
What do you do with OPEC? You're going to say, hey, man, we're not going to buy no more of your gas.
Sorry, you can't profit, yeah.
Here's the problem. If you cut off Russia, what's everybody else going to do? If the United States cuts off Russia, other people are going to follow suit. So what does that do to the oil prices? everywhere else.
OPEC is a conglomerate. So how our president talks and the policies that he kind of alludes that he's going to put forth definitely influence the crude oil market. So our presidents do have a role to play in gas prices. It's exactly why when presidents or when candidates are running for president of the United States, it's exactly why when they are up and debating with other candidates, why they put forth different ideas of how they are going to lower gas prices, because they even understand that they do have a role. It's not large, but it is a role. So when it comes to gas prices, Biden does have a hand in that. He does have a hand in how he influences the market. But right now, with Ukraine and Europe and everybody tying all of their assets up to Russia, because remember, we have to protect the climate. So we, instead of us going for our own oil here, we're just bringing it in from somewhere else because somehow that makes us, I don't know, climate change advocates if we don't do it ourselves and we just buy it from somebody else. Because we did that, we're over a barrel, literally, to OPEC.
So what we should do is never go green. We should continue to rely on everybody for everything. We should just
what we should do
to rely on fossil fuels. That way we can complain about gas prices next year too. Okay.
What we should do is we should realize that renewable energy takes decades to be able to implement. So we need to put forth policy that says this is what we're going to expect in the next 2, 3, 4, and 5 years. And while we transitioning to renewable, we're going to go ahead and we're going to work this fueling. We're going to open up. And let me say this for the Democrats. We have drilling permits that have been approved by the Biden administration. They're out there, but different policies of other things that Democrats have done have shut that down. Once we open that back up, we can open it all up. We can go ahead and fuel everybody's cars right now, but we do need to work more toward how we're going to, use renewable energy and more sustainable things to where we don't just completely destroy the climate, because there is something there. We don't just get to say there's nothing there, right?
Yeah, I haven't really thought this out, so I'm just going to talk. We'll just talk about it here. But just something that came to my mind is, like, I always have been of the belief that the reserves that we have here, right? There is a global market, like JD was saying, and we could cause prices to go up in other countries, and things like that. But I always kind of thought the reserves that we had here, it was best to hang on to those for situations like this, where, okay, we need to really punish Russia. So we're not going to buy any more oil off them. We'll do it ourselves and control our prices. Once things calm down, then we go back to purchasing on the world market. Is that flawed? Like, I haven't really thought that out or really studied it, but that to me seems like that would make sense.
I don't know that the reserves would last very long, just to be quite frank. I think our consumption is like so outrageous that we have 328 million people who live here.
Supply and demand, JD, is what you're thinking. Yeah.
No, and I get that, but we have the ability to extract more oil. We have our own, oil. There's permits out there, but nobody in their right mind would go into that business right now because of the climate change stuff, because you would invest all that money and then they would do some kind of policy to shut that down.
Exactly.
There are people in the business. There are people in that business now that could ramp up production here in the United States. Absolutely could.
Right.
But
would it make sense to do that though, JD? To do that,
they could produce more than they want to. They right now don't.
No, what Jimmy Don is saying, and Todd and I talked about this earlier. If I had an avocado farm and I was planting bunches of avocados, and then suddenly you became president and all you talk about is how you hate avocados, then I'm not going to plant as many. And that's what Jimmy Don is saying. Would you invest into going in and pulling up all this oil out of our own soil when it's only for now? Because in a year or two, the Democrats are going to come in and they're going to clip that.
So
because
actually, this
have
happens a lot.
To go to that climate change.
This is a great analogy. Here in the coal mines, we see it all the time here. That we know in 5 years coal mines out, but I'm going to go in there. If the price of coal goes up, we'll see how many coal mines pop up.
What's happening right now?
It happens all the time with fossil fuels. Oil's no exception. People will absolutely invest. That's the problem, though. When we get into the Keystone Pipeline, they lost investments anyway. But people will. We have the ability right now to pump more oil out of the ground and raise U.S. production. But people don't want to the companies have decided they don't want to do that without a mandate from the president. The president can do like a wartime thing and make them produce more stuff because natural gas or because gas is a essential, whatever.
Right.
But as a company, I don't have to produce more because guess what that does to my supply, right? It makes it worth more. And so that's what you're seeing.
That makes sense too.
And domestically, that's what you're seeing internationally and globally is people keeping the production low to raise their prices. And there's not a thing we can do about it.
Biden administration was sued by Energy Alliance 2 years or a year ago because of the policies he put forth restricting drilling on public land. So there's definitely a component with policies that presidents put forth. That's just how it is. Okay. So when you're a CEO of Shell or BP or all these oil companies, you have to take it just like if you're a CEO of mortgage companies or water companies or healthcares, or hospitals, you have to take into consideration the rhetoric that is being spoken. And you have to read the writing on the wall. So if you're a CEO of an oil company, are you going to go out and drill a bunch and invest all this money like Jimmy Don is saying when you know for a fact that you are going to be stood against when it comes to the Democrat Party? Maybe not now because we have this war going on and gas prices are going on, but ultimately your investment is going to tank.
But people, we always have the refineries built where the people are still pumping oil and they can pump more of it if they wanted to. Seriously.
That's right, Chris.
That's just the way it goes.
Chris K put up there about Saudi. You know, it's interesting that Biden's tapped Putin, President Putin, to negotiate with Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Russia themselves to see if they can give us more oil. How crazy is that? And
we've also stopped buying oil off Venezuela, which has been hurt our oil prices as well. We've got sanctions against them. We're not buying their oil. So all these things are, I'm not saying it's a huge thing, but it's a part of it. It's all these small things work together.
Equation.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Oil is not a simple problem, man. Oil is not a simple problem.
Yeah, it's very complex. But by people, you've got some people that try to make the argument that presidents of any country, not just our country, any country, have no role to play in the price of crude oil. And it's just not that simple.
I mean, I feel like the president of the United States has still a very small role because the president of OPEC don't give a shit what the President Biden has to say about it because he's going to sell his oil on the global market anyway.
Right. Remember what OPEC is.
But it would seem like we would have a bigger say because we're the biggest customer.
We do have a say.
Yeah,
that's why Biden's administration got sued.
I bet you Biden can make him raise his production.
Under President Bush, I think it was GW, we saw the highest gas prices, and we also saw the lowest because of 9/11, but then because of policy. And then every time we see a Democrats talk a lot about climate change. If you are a CEO of an oil company, you hear this, and then you start to make moves. And that's why you see gas prices go up. Well, it's just how it is. It's not always
the gas prices go up when Democrats are in office. The economy always gets better when Democrats are in office.
Well, let's talk about the economy then. The economy is still not where it was pre-pandemic.
Well, pre-pandemic, but we're at 3.8% interest rate.
We're at 90%.
Rate, and we're also, I mean, our economy is growing so I don't understand that everybody says this economy is bad. I understand we have an inflation problem, but it's because people are working.
Well, it's kind of like
it's a demand thing. That's why people are going to work. They're driving to work. They've got to get gas. It's a demand thing.
Right. It's kind of like if me and you and Jimmy Don are truly equals, and then I say, okay, you boys are fired, and then I hire you back a week later. I can't say suddenly everything is great. And the facts are the facts. 90% recovery. 90% recovery of the economy is not 100%. That was reported by NBC News, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. That's how it is. We are not where we are pre-pandemic. We are not where we are in 2019. Are we having a good recovery?
Yeah, yes. Of course we are.
We're having a good recovery. We're
having a better recovery than expected is what we're doing. We're having a better recovery than expected. We're beating projections monthly, and we're beating projections.
We are recovering. Added. We are recovering, and I want us to recover. Let me tell you, I'm not arguing saying that I don't want us to recover. I'm not that kind of person. What I'm saying is we're still not where we were in 2019. We have higher gas, we have higher groceries, we have higher electricity, we have higher taxes, we have higher everything. So no, we're not better off than what we were 2 years ago.
Well, I mean, I would just like
because we're still recovering from where we were 2 years ago.
But if you ask the everyday American,
than we expected.
if you ask the everyday American if the economy is better, they're going to tell you no.
Then it was
because
when
they had less money to spend.
I understand that. But people are going back to work, Jimmy Don, is my point. Which jobs are being created at a rate that is outperforming what was projected.
JD,
that's just the facts. That's just people who do this for a living, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. If everyone was to be able to go out and get hired at 2 and 3 jobs, we applaud that. However, that's not success if they come home and they still cannot afford their groceries, their gas, their clothes, all that. And that's where we are. And
because that's how the economy works. If the economy goes better, they're going to raise the prices on things. That's how.
We flooded the market with free money, and it caused inflation. We have tons of inflation.
You still haven't dealt with all these
numbers guy. Jimmy Don is literally like a mathematician sitting right there.
You all still haven't dealt with the idea of all these companies making record profits.
All right.
But that goes back to my whole problem, though, dude. Is with the things that are going on. It's like it almost seems like it's by design. Because as I was telling you last week, it shuts the backbone of America, the small businesses down, and the corporations get bigger.
Because these corporations are big. You know why they're big? You know why they're big. Because they're good at business. That's why they get big. Yeah. Because they understand money. They know how things work.
Dirty politicians.
Let me say this, JD. You can't say
the economy's terrible. The economy's terrible when people are making massive amounts of money, record profits every year and every month. They're just making hand over fist. And the middle class is bearing to run up like we always have, and it's bullshit.
All right, so here's my pushback though. Here's my pushback on you on that though, right? So the normal Democratic policy is that every American should do better. Right now, that ain't happening. The corporations are doing better, and that is generally what a Democrat would blame the Republicans for.
Right, because now bro, whose policies are we feeling the strain of right now? It's early, man. We're still 2 years in. We're less than 2 years into this.
Oh, is this the point where we blame Trump for everything?
This is the point. This is the point where you say no. It's the point where this is Don. When Trump was in office. What I say about the economy, Jimmy Don? Who was he benefiting from?
You said Obama.
Right. Now that the things are going bad, it takes a while. The policies just don't. You can put them into place, but you don't feel the effects of them for a year or two. It takes some time.
I don't know, dude. I told you last week. All I know
that's a fact.
All I know is I can only judge on what I see. And under Obama, I had a really hard time because it was, and for me, a hard time. What I'm saying is, I couldn't grow, I couldn't expand because I was having to pay so much in taxes. Under Trump, I grew and I expanded and I did better.
Yeah.
Under Trump. Now we're back under Biden. And now I'm having to think about selling my business. It's just, I can only tell you what's in front of me.
I get it.
I see. And, and that's the whole thing. I go to the gas pump.
So let me ask you this, man. So just as a rebuttal, are coal mines booming right now, or are they down?
They're pretty good right now, actually. Huh? They're pretty good right now, actually.
Is it because Joe Biden's so pro-coal?
No, it's because overseas
it's because the policies from the last administration set them up to be successful now and make a bunch of money. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
It's because everybody else is buying coal except for us. Because remember, we're about climate change,
absolutely.
and nobody else is. Because remember, we're a very narcissistic country. We think that everybody believes the way we believe. It boils down to this, JD, and I'm not attacking you. I don't care who is successful, if it's a Republican or a Democrat. I really just want to keep as much money as we earn. Sure. I want to be able to raise my kids in a safe environment. I want to be able to hang out with you guys on Sunday evenings and see all of our friends tune in. That's all any of us want, Democrat or Republican. I want to see my LGBTQ friends be able to marry and live their lives. I want to see all these things, right? I'm not rooting against Biden, but I'm telling you, facts are facts. When a Democrat is president, I have less money to spend because I have to spend more money to be able to provide necessities. And that's what influences my vote. And that's what influences these people's votes.
But we also have to see it from a practical manner that the reason that there's more money, one more reason the prices go up on everything is because people are working, the economy's doing better. That's why. It's happened time and time again. You'll see it, Don, from George Bush Sr. to Biden, you'll see when Biden leaves office, the unemployment rate will be lower than it was ever under Trump. By the time he leaves office.
I just want to help you on one thing. This inflation that we're seeing now is a 30 or 40 year high. So this is unprecedented. So don't.
There's a lot of factors going on.
That's right. And you're very smart, and don't dig yourself in that hole, because I promise you, this is unique. This one's a unique inflation argument that we're having. This is not talking about $1 or $2. This is talking about multiple dollars. So, and Biden and the Democrat Party, whether you believe they're at fault or not, they're in charge, completely in charge. Remember who has control of everything right now? It's the Democrat Party. Voters know that. When he did his State of the Union address, his polls trickled up because that's normal for everyone to do. I was actually happy to see that for him. I'm not anti-Biden, right? But they only went up with the Democrats. If he wants, and his State of the Union address will help him if independents and moderates believe him. That's who Biden needs to convince. He's not going to convince. He's not going to convince JD. JD is going to vote Democrat regardless. I'm going to vote Republican pretty much regardless. So that's 90% true for me and you both. But you have to go with those.
I was going to vote for Kasich in 2016, just for the record.
You have to vote with those. You have to consider those swing voters. These people watching, they're not Republican. They're not Democrat. I mean, they may think they are, but ultimately, when they go to the polls, they're going to think about, how did I live under Trump or DeSantis or, my governor's Bill Lee or Bashir, whoever. And that's how they're going to vote. And that's why you see Biden talking the way he's talking at the State of the Union.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying there. And that's why I think it's almost, and this is going to sound like I'm completely lost my marbles here. That's why it's almost unfortunate that Trump lost the election, because he didn't get a chance for his policies to really get implemented for that second term. Because if you remember, like a George W. Bush, it wasn't until his second term that the wheels really fell off, right? Because of his terrible policy.
That's true.
And so now he's not having to deal with the repercussions of his first term. You understand what I'm saying? Now Biden's having to deal with it. And so it's almost unfortunate that he lost that election and didn't get exposed, or his policies didn't get exposed. Does that make sense? Am I way off?
You
don't think that he would if I get that, but you understand what I'm saying, right?
I do.
I think it's unfortunate that we have President Biden. I'm really honest with you guys when I say, and I think Jimmy Don may have agreed with me last weekend, and people watching probably will too. Out of the people who were for the Democrats, Biden scared me the least. I'm honestly shocked that we're in this position under President Biden. Like, I really thought that he would have beat if he would have ran instead of Hillary Clinton, he would have won.
Yeah.
But he should have ran 16.
I don't know who this is, because this isn't what or who I expected. I didn't vote for Biden. I'm just saying I expected everything to be like, okay, we're okay. We got a nice moderate. He's going to bridge the gap. I thought that's how it was going to be. I did think the State of the Union sounded more like him. Don't you think so?
Yeah. I think that's who he was. I don't think people think Biden's being this puppet, but I just don't see that. I think his State of the Union was absolutely 100% Biden.
That's why I got defensive. That's why I got protective over him. I don't think that the progressive arm of that party, I know they didn't come right out and attack him, but being able to come out and even speak against his State of the Union address is completely disrespectful.
Yeah.
Guys, we're running on time, but there was one last thing I wanted to talk about, and more so than anything, because
Jimmy don't get worse than us, Don. He's want to go an hour and a half every time now.
Yeah,
doesn't he do a great job though? I swear he does.
But there's one other thing, and it's more so because I want to hear Don's response to this question than anything. So one of the other
this will be good.
One of the other stories that we posted this week was about an Indiana school teacher or staff member of some kind who slapped a kid, right? Mm-hmm. And I just want to know, and JD, I'll tell you what I would do first. You go second, and then we'll sit back and get our popcorn and let Don answer. So it's as far as I am very pro teacher, right? Like, I will not believe my kid over a teacher. I used to when the girls were in elementary school. I signed the paddle form, more so because I didn't think they were going to get paddled, but I needed them to know the fear needed to be there, right? Like, they need to know that it was possible. I used to sign it in front of them. They would cry. Why would you do that? But that's, so I'm very pro teacher. But if any teacher put their hand on my child like that, they'd have a real problem. It would be bad. So JD, do you agree with that?
I would do nothing, bro.
Oh,
You wouldn't do anything?
That is a lie. That is serious.
Okay, I was like, wait a minute, am I talking to my buddy?
Yeah. You know how I ain't even going there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
All
how I
right,
feel
Don.
about that.
What would you do, Don?
First and foremost, I agree with you totally on the teacher thing. My kids know to go in and respect the teachers. Teachers are authorities. They're experts in their field, and they're leaders in society, really. I mean, honestly. That does not mean that if a teacher goes rogue, and let me tell you, and everybody listening, you can go ahead and turn this into whoever you need to turn it into. If you lay a hand on my children, the way that teacher assaulted that child, there will be repercussions and consequences that you will not be able to fathom. Because sometimes, and you all heard me at the beginning of this podcast, sometimes you have to meet crazy with crazy. I'll rewatch that video several times because I want to watch it with my Christian eyes, and then I want to watch it with my mother eyes, and then I want to watch it with neutral eyes. Every set of eyes that I watched that video with came out with the same result. And, God makes different people, because people are like, well, Dawn, you're Christian, but, you would go roll out in the yard with somebody if you had to. I would, because you want to know why God made angels that's going to come back and destroy this earth. Maybe I'm one of that part. Who knows? But let me tell you, I'm feisty when it comes to that. I'm protective. I'm protective over JD. I'm protective over Jimmy Dawn, all of our fans and friends. I'm protective. That's just who I am. But if anybody lays a hand on any child, let alone it be mine, there is going to be hell to pay at some point. Now, with that being said, I did look at it, and I really did try to look at that man and think, what is he experiencing? Did you all do that?
No.
But I still see, I tried because my temper, I've learned that I have to try to do that. And every time I looked at that video, I thought, what could he be experiencing? And every time I came away with, this is an adult assaulting what? He looked like he was 10. Well, so the results are the results.
It's the reason why I'm not a teacher. Because that would happen. I would blow the school up. I tell Amy every day, like, I have no idea. Teachers are saints. I don't know how they do their job, because I would blow the school up within 10 minutes of being in there. I'd be sued immediately, because that's why I stay out of there. Could
you tell Jimmy Dawn, though, that he completely snapped? Like, yes, he even screamed that, he completely snapped. I hope he does well, and so forth and so on. That's great. But you traumatize this child. And if you go after vulnerable people, because that's who I am, all of my fights, shut up, JD. All of my fights were because I was a victim or because he was picking on somebody. I'm that person. I want to protect people who can't protect themselves. If you're attacking a child, I don't care who you are or what you're going through, we're going to go at it.
Oh, I need to know
that's what he's going to do.
I need to know what Bejo was trying to say here. She said H. I know there's something good coming.
I meant to say H. I didn't mean to say H-E-L-L. She wants me to say H.
Oh, that's what it was.
So if she wants me to talk in code and everybody can put it together.
I love you, Betty Jo. One of my favorite. All right. So that'll do it for the show. That was another fun show. I really enjoyed that. Covered a lot of good topics, some good debate. Always a lot of fun. Make sure you stay on the lookout for the Martin County debates coming up. We'll be releasing more information as that gets closer. If you are a candidate and you are watching, hit Dawn up or just message the podcast page, for info.
Like and share.
Yeah, like and share the podcast, like and share about the debates. Like I said, it's it's a very important time for our county, and we need to do good things and vote the way we need to vote. We need to get the right people in those seats. I think JD said that as well as anybody could. All right, so that's it for us. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us on this Sunday evening. We always enjoy it. JD keeps making bad decisions and kissing the guns.
You're supposed to go after me, JD.
Oh, my bad.
First.
Yeah, I'll keep living my boring life. You know where.
Don't worry, I'll do it again. That's fine.
You know where to find us. Wherever they put out podcasts, we're there. You can download the Just Add Bourbon podcast and give it a listen. You can watch us on YouTube, here on Facebook. Like I said, guys, appreciate you all so much. From myself, from JD, and from Dawn. no matter how bad your week's been, no matter how bad your day's going, if you just add bourbon, it always gets a little bit better. We'll see you guys next week.